But it was good. Dami kong
Yeah.
natutunan din.
Ako
Like,
rin, ako
from
rin.
your
Ay,
work.
wait, may sign-off ba tayo? Di ko na alam.
Kokak.
Hey everyone! Welcome to our Frog Moms Career Talk, where we share stories and experiences about starting a career in the art and design industry. This will be a good conversation coming from different disciplines. We have Sandra Dans for photography, Joanna Malinis for design, and myself, Jackie Lozano, for painting. We are all professors of the UP College of Fine Arts, Department of Visual Communication, and it just so happens that we are all teaching the same block of sophomores. I started calling my students frogs as a term of endearment or just for fun. And since our students are frogs, that makes me, Joe, Sandee, and Jenny. We have a fourth frog mom, Jenny Suarez, and that makes us frog moms. So let's introduce ourselves.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Joanna Malinis, but you can call me Jo Malinis. And I am a graphic designer working at a company called Plus 63 Design Co. So Plus 63 is part of a bigger design collective called Hydra Design Group, where we work with 4 other studios from the Philippines who do graphic design, animation, and interior design. But in Plus 63, we mainly focus on graphic design in general. But I guess we can say that we specialized in developing brand identities. And because of my training in Plus 63, I was able to be confident enough to do it on my own as well as a freelancer. And so I also do brand identity design on my own, where I work with mostly boutique brands that are based both international and local. And I think back in 2014, that's when I started developing my interest in typography, that I was only able to call myself a type designer last year. Like that's when I only fully owned that title after releasing my fonts called Hook and Salbabida Sans. And right now I am working on my third personal typeface, which is called Terno, which is based on the one of our traditional dresses here in the Philippines, which is the Terno.
So my name is Sandra Dans, not my real signature, so that you can't use it on bank documents. So I am typically most easily described as a photographer, no? So, but in recent years, I've also taken to calling myself a photo specialist because some of the work that I do transcends merely just shooting photographs. I also like help composite and create and also restore them. So I shoot photographs in general under my own name, so Sandra Dans. But when I document weddings, because I have a very specific angle when it comes to shooting weddings, and I want to attract very specific clients with my weddings, I shoot as Off Kilter Studio. In the pandemic, I did have to pivot a little bit because weddings were a little more scarce. So I put out a call on Instagram for small businesses because a lot of them were opening up at the start of the pandemic. So I started shooting food. So I made another pivot at the start of this year to doing photo restoration. I also have another job. I also do graphic design and layout. This is like a short this has been my side gig since I was in college. When I moved back here in 2015, my now husband and I started graphic design studio. So we work with small businesses and startups. We also do identity design. In the pandemic, we have had to learn to do web design because everyone is like asking for web stuff. We also have book and illustration projects.
Hey everyone, my name is Jackie Lozano. You can also call me Ikaj. That's more of my artist's nickname. But Jackie is okay too. I'm primarily a painter, and I like painting the human figure. That's the subject that I relate to the most. My medium is oil on canvas, and I like painting big works like 4x5, as big as I can or whatever fits in my house. I had my first exhibit back in 2018. It's called Hero. And I had one recently last year. It's called Awakening. That was online because of the pandemic. I do commissions and they're for portraits. It started back in 2014 in a more realistic style, but I evolved into a more abstracted impasto style this time. So this is the style that I can offer to the public, and I do it all for them. The early one is for me, and then so I got to divide my passion into what I like doing for myself and what can earn money, more stable. And on the side, I teach at UP College of Fine Arts. I started in 2013. I took a break back in 2016 and got back 2 years ago. And then this year, due to the pandemic also, I started, oh no, Johan and I, my husband, his name is Johan, we started this G-Clay printing company called Genta Art Prints. And how do I even explain this? It's archival printing. I got to print my art prints in it, and it helped us get by the pandemic because the pandemic, a lot of portrait clients kind of declined because of it. I could understand that fine art isn't exactly the priority right now. So this was a good lifesaver for us. Our first question is, how did you start?
Throughout college, yung idea ko of earning money was sort of on a project basis. Wala akong idea of what a salary was supposed to be. So when I first graduated, the first thing I did was Googled photography job Manila. And yung first result was the first place I signed up, which is I used to work for a wedding photographer. He was the first job application I applied for, the first result on Google. Alam mo yun, as in sobrang hindi ako nag-research. I was just like, okay, I'll take this job. Swerte na lang na he was actually a very talented photographer and I learned a lot from him. But should I mention how much I was making?
Oh, it's okay. Sure.
Okay. My salary working for him was 10K. For reference, this is a very low salary. This is like very low. I don't really regret it though, because I did learn a lot from that guy. And actually, I got so much experience shooting weddings under his mentorship that I felt confident enough the year after I left him to take weddings for myself. And I was charging, maybe I was charging 30 to 40 a wedding. That first blush, like right out of under his wing, ganon. And I would get work. So parang na prime naman ako for how to charge after working for him. Yon.
I mainly got my first clients by word of mouth from my mom. That's really the only way I got clients before, for family friends. So my first portrait commission, I was in college pa ata, was my cousin's family. Oh. It was a charcoal on paper, mga 20 by 30 ata. They were 3 heads for 3,000 pesos.
Wow!
I love it. I didn't even, dapat nga 2,000 but then they included their son. Nahiya pa ako, Ma, can you tell me 3,000? After that, nag-branch out kami sa neighborhood. I got to do pastel naman, colored, same 20 by 30, and then this time is 4K each.
Okay.
After graduating, I got better at making portraits. I got to sell a portrait I made of my own vendor series. Umabot ako ng 10,000. So, at the family din. And then, so I was increasing my price by the year. And then I explored watercolor and acrylic and eventually studied oil paint. So it was really, I guess, promotor ko yung mom ko. That helped.
For me, back in 2012, even before 2012, I was really so set on, making my mark in advertising, as in that was the dream. pangarap ko talaga yon since I think end of high school. Parang I was really set on going to advertising.
Wow.
But when I graduated in 2012 and started looking for jobs, parang no one was calling back. And so when I got a call from Plus 63 to join their studio, sorry, this was because one of the co-founders was actually my thesis panelist during the thesis defense. She called me and invited me to join their studio. And then, bilang type A person who felt so pressured because her friends already had jobs, I took it just to have a job during that time. And then I was thinking, okay, maybe I can do this for how many months and then shift to advertising afterwards. But I am still here after 9 years of working for them because it was a fun job. I discovered that I really like graphic design and it was something that I could relate to and really put all my time and effort in, and I started falling in love with it, and so I'm still doing it up to now. So when I started back in 2012, I only had 4 days of work. So from Tuesdays to Fridays, 4-day work week. And yung salary ko noon was 15K. So 15K ako nag-start. 15 to 18 was like the normal starting salary. So yun, doon ako nagsimula.
Continuing on that, how did your career build up to where you are today? For painting, the more I got familiar with the price ranges through galleries, I really did my research. I would go to galleries and ask how much these are. And I had a friend who was a gallerist. I'd ask everything. Ano yung cut nyo? Ano yung mabenta? And they kept saying the most expensive is oil. And I didn't know oil back then. So, okay, I want that.
Okay.
So I studied oil. I studied oil for several years while working at graphic design. So that took several years. And when I was ready to paint portraits in oil, natuto naman ako, and people were starting to ask for commissions, I went expensive right away. I went straight to like 30K for a small painting. And then that's because I believed it was at par with what I would see in the galleries. Like I could do that, then if people see the value in it, then they would buy. And some did buy. So it was great. I didn't have to do so much kasi matagal gawin and it was quite expensive, so that could last me several months, a month or two. And I just increased prices due to demand. The moment I got a waiting list to the next year, okay, I gotta increase because I can't really handle the
Right.
So tumaas na ng tumaas. Now I'm kind of peaked at, I won't tell you na lang. For everyone who is interested, email
Okay.
me.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, I'm
Respect.
done.
Respect.
Who is next? Oh, Joe, I think. Joe is next.
So type design isn't something that's commonly discussed in the Philippines. We don't have any type design degrees here in the country yet. And so I had to look online for conferences that weren't super expensive or at least offered scholarships to buy POC, ganon. So sali ako doon, apply lang ako na apply to like get a free buy o POC pass, ganon. So I'm like, okay, sulitin na natin yung pagka-Pilipino ko. So nag-a-apply lang ako doon and then doon lang ako natuto online. And so after that, yun, ito na, I guess mas gamay ko na kung paano siya gawin. And nagagawa ko na siya on my own, but I still need to get critique for my typefaces. And what I do is I just message type designers like, kasi makapal yung mukha ko. So like, hello, I'm working on this typeface. Would you mind taking a look at that? Ganyan. Tapos, okay naman, nag-reply naman sila. Tapos nagbibigay naman sila ng comments. So, ayun lang. For graphic design naman, I think I've had the privilege of having a mentor that not everyone has that access to. Hindi ko masyado ma-explain, but it's super important for graphic designers to really understand that the work you're putting out isn't just any type of design work, but it serves people and other people view your work and use your work. So you have to be conscious of what you're putting out and who you're working for. So those are things you have to really take into consideration as you grow as a graphic designer. And so I feel like hindi lang ako nag-improve in skills, but also in how to discern the type of clients that I want to work with, and that's what I learned in the studio.
Oh, dude. Okay. I don't know where to start with this because I feel like compared to you guys, yung trend in my business is in the reverse. So what I did rather than increasing my pricing was nag-diversify ako. Meaning I just started doing lots of stuff rather than doing one thing really, really well. Because I think if you want to shoot a wedding, you'll think of like all these other names before you get to mine. And I think because I'm somewhere in the middle in terms of just being identifiable as someone, I need to put myself in as many categories as I can in order to stay afloat, no? I ended up going back to weddings because I decided I do like weddings, but only when they're like this, when they're like weird, and when they're, when they pose a certain interest to me outside of just being a wedding. And because that is something that is I want to be accessible to people who are more likely to have weird weddings, which is not rich people, diba? It's not like the wealthy Chinese businessmen that are gonna have like a bride in a freaking Pikachu costume, di ba? Wala namang ganun. Well, baka meron, pero di ba, di naman sila, they're not, that's not how it happens usually. Usually, these are people who are like, oh, we only have 35,000 pesos to spend on this wedding. My dress is going to be a onesie and you're gonna wear like, di ba? So, which is why I ended up lowering my prices. So right now, my wedding fee is 35 because it's just me and my partner. I have a girl that shoots with me. No, so for me now, yung weddings are actually my art project. There's something that I mostly do because I enjoy it, and I sustain myself with all these other things that I'm able to do. So yung photo restoration, I love that too, but I charge for it because the main reason I'm doing it is so that I can pay Meralco for all the lights. So yun yung insight ko is I actually went in the opposite direction so that I could have my art, I could have the thing that I'm interested in doing for my sort of creative satisfaction, as well as have a space to do it professionally so that I can keep the lights on. Yun. Sorry, dami kong sinabi. Okay.
Okay, how do you promote your works and find clients today?
For me, how I promote my work is mainly on Instagram talaga. I post my graphic design and type design work on Instagram, and then hashtag galore na lang talaga. It's one of the easiest ways to do it. You just forward an Instagram account to another person and then they see your work immediately. Another way to do it is also to have a website, and that's what I did also. But I have no idea how to track. I don't have no idea how to do analytics, so hindi ko alam if effective ba talaga yung website ko or not. So I just rely on my Instagram mostly for promoting my work. And then another thing that I did, because I was really looking up to graphic designers who did work for fashion brands and boutique brands, smaller brands like brands that handle jewelry or shoes, accessories, or even parang smaller products like furniture, ganyan. I really looked up to graphic designers who did those things. And so I tried to look for clients that way. So what I did is sa mga stories na hindi ko kinikwento sa maraming tao is that there's this influencer. So let's call her an influencer who became my friend. Her name is Mary Jasmine. And then one day, in her Instagram story, she was like, "Oh, I'm going to start a brand with a friend, and we're looking for graphic designers." And I'm like, "Okay, pakapala na rin ulit ng mukha." I DM'd her back, and I was like, "I can do your graphic design work.
Yes.
Here's my portfolio."
Wow.
She was like, "Okay." So after that, nung in-email ko sa kanya, she got me to do her graphic design work for her, and so I did the branding for her towel brand called Sora. I think because of Sora, that's how I got a lot of my other clients, because of that one brand.
I also think parang yung word of mouth, especially sa Pilipinas, sobrang meaningful. Kasi the first place you really ask for, "Oy, may kilala ba kayong ganito ganyan?" is people you know, or have you worked with someone who does this, ganyan. So yeah, as just to pipe in, parang similar yung experience ko na I don't I don't know what to do actually. I really rely on word of mouth. That's like one of the biggest drivers of both my photography as well as yung design business namin is really, well, we work with these guys. They really liked working with us. The work isn't really portfolioable kasi parang it's like this really boring brochure or something na hindi mo, like, kahit anong layout mo sa Instagram, hindi siya magiging cute. Diba? So it's stuff like that. But we worked fast and it was a good experience. So they'll share it with someone else who might need that same kind of work. So yeah. So for me, word of mouth is the best way that I am able to find people. Now, that does have limitations kasi what if someone has a bad experience with us, diba? So, which I'm sure has happened. We've been doing this for almost 7 years. So they'll tell all their friends. Then what, diba? What are we gonna do about that? Or, ano pa ba? Like sometimes it dries up. Sometimes parang the chain will just end somewhere na you end up working for someone that doesn't end up generating new leads. So it is quite self-limiting in terms of reach. So yeah, that's just how it is.
Ako naman, 3 things. My first and biggest portal for clients are email campaigns. Before releasing anything to the public, before starting a show, I email every single person that I know. Kapal mukha ng todo. As in, I collected the contacts of all my clients since I started in college. As in,
Wow.
I dug up my email.
Right.
And then, I know it sounds weird for others. They think it's kind of spammy or nakakaya. I'm sorry. Makapal mukha ko. I will just... I mean, if you have nice work that you believe in, why not just share it?
Yeah.
If they can delete it,
Yeah.
they can delete it. So I do email campaigns. And that's how I can get to sell works before opening the show.
Oh, okay.
And then I do have strong leads, like my sister and her husband. Sila yung pinaka-pusher ko. They'll share me to their friends and their friends. And I do get a lot of clients from them. Thank you, sister. Lastly, I do social media. I promote on Instagram. And diba, I started with family, friends. Recently, starting 2 years ago, I was able to get clients from Instagram, as in, I don't know, algorithm. Sabi nila, it just popped out on their feed, and then we got the client.
Yeah.
Next question. Did you adjust or change anything due to the pandemic?
I think out of all of our fields, minus the one na medyo natamaan talaga ng pandemic. So maybe since the pandemic started, I've shot maybe 6 things for my wedding studio. But yeah, pivoting to things like that I can shoot in my house was the original plan. But when that did not become sustainable, I just went with this print restoration thing. Who's next?
I think it's me. Early 2020 pandemic, confident pa ako because I still continued on with a few portrait commissions kasi those were the people waiting a year or 2 ago.
Right.
Oh.
But then by the end of 2020, my waiting list just disappeared. They all canceled, literally 0. So what Johan suggested was to do prints. It was something I wasn't really open to, but then, well, let's try it out. So I did prints on A3 plus paper. I don't have a sample right now, but editioned it to 20 editions and then sold it. It's much cheaper. It's 15,000 a print, but it's an archival play. And it was a good pivot because it's still art, it's still my work, but it's more affordable. And so I got to reach out to a younger market actually. Because the main audience ko seniors. With the sales of that prints, we got to buy a printer of our own, and now we're starting the G-Clay printing.
Yay!
I don't know when. Kailan namin mababawi yung print.
Kaya yan, tulungan ko kayo.
For me, the pandemic proved that not all meetings need to be in person. Because as you know, as graphic designers, I mainly deal with clients. So I have to meet with them and talk to them. And before the pandemic, it was mostly parang laging in-person meetings. I'd have to go to BGC for a meeting that will last for only like what, 15-20 minutes.
Yep.
And so braving that traffic pa, tas ang mahal-mahal pa and stuff like that. Ngayon, because of Zoom and Google Hangouts and all of those things, it makes it easier. Ever since naman kasi my work exists digitally lang, online lang, so it was very easy for me to pivot to a work from home setup. I guess the main adjustment for me during this pandemic was more of like that mental, that mindset na parang, oh, you're at home but you still have to work. And it's just hard to, push through that. Pero sa mga ibang things, okay naman ako. I've been very, I guess, privileged to not have any major adjustments naman when it comes to working online.
Next question. Actually, continuing on nabanggit mo na, Joe. What are the mindset challenges you've experienced? Like, if you receive negative feedback, how to deal with imposter syndrome? Has a client hated your work? What happens when you get no jobs for months, etc.?
Wow. I feel like I want to talk about this as like a group. I don't know.
Yeah, go.
Group therapy thing. Kasi
has anyone hated you?
Has anyone? Oh, okay. So here's my question, or in relation to all of this. What are you guys, aside from like direct negative feedback, like someone saying, I don't like this, what are some indicators for you that your client is not happy? So I'll start. Kasi sa akin, it's very easy for weddings. If the client does not change their profile picture, they did not like my photos. Okay.
I remember you telling me about this.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that is that's kind of a big deal for me anyway. I don't like to reveal it kasi ayoko naman i-pressure yung mga people that I've worked for to like, oh no, I didn't change it. What did she think?
Yeah.
But it has happened na I've felt so unsatisfied with the outcome of a shoot, and then I turned it over because it's all I had, and then nothing. Like the client doesn't post it. Wala kahit parang, oh, we got married. Tapos one picture, like nothing, like dead silence. So yung mga ganun ako, that's happened. Yeah, so those are the things in my
How'd you deal with it?
I cried.
Oh no, sorry.
I was like, I can't fucking do this job. It's too hard.
Sa akin, I guess bihira yung actually once pa lang nangyari sa akin yun na hindi ginamit ng client yung logo. I was a bit younger. Siguro this happened in 2013. Parang second year ko pa lang of working. But to be fair, now looking at that logo up to now, maganda pa rin siya. I stand by it kasi ang pangit ng logo nila. So, up to now, ang pangit ng ginawa nilang logo. But hindi ko alam yung reason for it because they really liked the work. So I don't know if it was an internal decision to just not push through with it. But it makes you feel like shit when they don't use your work. Especially for I guess for me na parang you paid for it already. So we went through revisions. So I don't know why you didn't use it. So parang for me naman, I guess yung indicator pagka sobrang tagal nung process of revisions. And before, I didn't have that in my contract na parang, oh, you're only allowed this number of revisions. Parang dati, only revisions. And then pagka sobrang haba nung back and forth, na hindi pa rin sila satisfied. I'm like, okay, there's something that I'm not doing right. And we have to like revisit this over and over.
Anyway, what about you, Jackie? Do you have stuff like that? How does that work for you?
I haven't received any like negative feedback from clients that I worked with, but early on, a few years ago, people would love to tell me that I am too expensive. Because when I started painting, I wanted to be exhibited in a gallery. and I would meet them. And then when they ask me, oh, how much are you selling this? And I give my price, and then they'll say I'm too expensive. And I guess like uh, listening to their reasons and looking at their clients, I am too expensive for them because I'm not like famous. Hindi ako kilala sa circle nila. But to the point that I was in a exhibit opening of a group, and then there were like a bunch of men in a circle in front of me saying, you, Jackie, yeah, you're the one that's too expensive, you shouldn't do that.
Oh, excuse you.
I know, I was just quiet, but it was just weird because half of the people I know would say I'm too expensive, but then half of the people I know buy from me. So like, well, I can sell it to them. I just sold some last week. Why are you telling me I'm too expensive? That's a problem.
It's too expensive for, sabihin mo, for you.
Yeah.
Your hampas loops.
Ay, nako. Hindi lang pala sila yung clientele. Kaya pala.
Okay, our next question. In a lighter mood.
Okay.
What do you love about your work?
Hindi ko alam paano ito sasagutin because I really just like design. Parang ever since I guess it's because my parents both work in the humanities or creative industries. Like my dad's a graphic designer, my mom works in publishing.
Okay.
She was a graduate of the College of Music. So I was exposed to creative stuff at a young age. So ever since, yun na talaga yung leaning ko. And I guess I'm just so lucky to be able to do it now. And wala naman akong parang, oh, I love it because ganyan. It's really just because I really just like it. And I enjoy doing it. So yun.
Well, first, same as Joe, I just like doing it, no? It's not gonna save lives, diba? We're not gonna cure COVID. We're not gonna cure cancer. I did an office job for a while, and then I know they usually pay better and they're more stable. Pero sa akin, willing ako to live in relative uncertainty. If it means I can take a day off on a Wednesday to go eat a hamburger, you know what I mean? Sorry, that's medyo privileged middle class, upper middle class life, you know. But that is a freedom that I am able to enjoy because of this unstable life that I chose.
Very similar to you too, and like with Sandee is being able to control my time, and I just don't work well in a company. I get in clash with authority. I don't know. And then it's just fun for me when earlier in college someone would ask me, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? And I just want to paint. So I'm glad, and it's amazing that I can get to do it in my own terms.
Very true.
That's it. Okay, so we have a few questions written by our students, our frog students. First student would ask, I don't have a go-to medium or art style. What to do?
Baka iba-iba siya per discipline.
I think so.
Because for me, it doesn't matter in design.
Oh, that's right. For design.
In the design, I guess, world, parang it doesn't really matter if you have a go-to medium or an art style because some design studios have their styles and they're hired for their styles. But it's not a requirement. Like you can just not have a style because it will depend on whatever the client needs and you have to cater to their needs. Yun. I don't know with art, Jackie, kasi syempre.
I didn't have a style until like 3 years after graduating because I only knew how to paint realistically. It was for me it got boring, and then I got to study other artists, copy their work. Like I literally copied whatever paintings they made and then tried to apply it to my own.
I think that really does develop over time, and it just takes longer for some people to find it. The more you do it, you're just gonna keep going towards the same habits
Yeah.
every time, di ba? Parang mapahanap mo rin yung thing na comfortable for you. So, that's okay. Just keep going. You don't
Kasalanan
need it
doon
right
ng
now.
Instagram and having that perfect feed.
Yeah. Ugh, I hate.
Next question.
Okay.
Paano makakuha ng specific client na gusto yung ginagawa mo? Kasi
May niligawan na ba kayong client? As in,
Ako.
Meron. Yeah, ikaw, di ba? You sent
I
those
was like,
messages.
okay,
Right.
gusto ko yung, it's not, hindi ko siguro masasagot yung client na gusto yung ginagawa ko, but siguro client na gusto ko yung nilalabas nila. So, mas ganun. So, I try to like look for those people. I've only done it once. Like, I DM'd that, that person, and I want to work on your brand because I know it was going to be related to, let's say, fashion or fashion leaning. But I'm willing to do it again if there are brands that I want to work with. The worst thing that can happen is that they don't reply to you. Parang yung kay Jackie, i-delete yung email niya. Pero yun, that's it. But the best thing is you get hired.
Yeah.
Oh, ako naman, the reason why I find this question a bit difficult because I'll never know if they like my work. So what I do is I try to make them like my work. So that's one of the reasons why I do email campaigns. I'll like show, look how pretty my paintings are. This is the meaning behind it. I did like 20,000 layers. It took me forever. Just adding all that value so that's a joke, okay?
Yeah.
So that they understand the value of your work.
Yeah.
And they'll end up liking it.
Yeah. In my industry, I think I only really started na nanliligaw ako ng couples when I did my studio. When I was like, oh, I really need these like geeky couples. I really want these like weirdo cosplay weddings. Like, hire me. So I needed to have work that matched it. That's the easiest answer for me. So I was infiltrating the spaces where people that will appreciate it are. And that involves a little bit of insighting, So, pati yung parang, the boomers are on Facebook. So, sa Facebook ako gagawa. Like, even stuff like that. Like, you
finding
have
your people.
You have to need to have some understanding of how they use the internet and then infiltrate mo na lang yung space nila.
I get embarrassed when people ask for my rates and prices.
I do too.
You do too?
Ako hindi na. Dati yes, but now no na. Yeah. Kasi bumaba na eh.
I guess less na now. What I do is I just talk to friends and ask them kung magkano rin ba rates nila. So yun, it lessens that feeling of shame.
Yeah.
And guilt.
Sure.
Or
even like asking them how they charge. Like, is it an hourly thing or is it a per deliverable thing? Like, even just knowing that can really help make you more comfortable saying numbers.
One last student question. How would I know if the quality of my works are good enough?
You get clients?
Maybe if people ask, like,
what?
Can you ask for a commission or a project?
So what about you? How would you answer that, Jackie?
I did answer it to them and I said, well, try it out right now if you're ready. I think you are ready because you're FA and you can try it out because we have students who are very young and already selling, although there's no pressure. You can try it out. Yun lang yung parang experience ko eh. There's no one else gonna tell you na you should be ready by now. Just
true.
Yeah.
Wala naman kasing magsiset ng standard.
Yeah, true.
Parang, you have to meet these requirements before you can, do freelance or whatever.
That's right.
So it's really just a matter of putting yourself out there and ka pa ng trabaho, gawa ka lang ng gawa hanggang sa merong mag-hire sa'yo and then, dire-diretso na lang yan. I don't think, sorry. I don't think any of us were like ready when we started. So up to now, sometimes I feel like there are certain projects that I'm not yet fully ready for, but bahala na. Pag dumating yan, sige, bahala na. Titingnan ko na lang kung paano ko siya gagawin. But there are other projects naman na alam ko I'm very capable of handling. So, it's really, wala. Hanggang ngayon, di pa rin ako ready sometimes. So, okay lang yun.
And it's okay to be rejected. Parang part lang siya nung gantong buhay, creative life. It's just if you're not gonna accept any negative feelings or feedback, ano siya, baka hindi ito yung field for you. Mahirap mag-exist.
You gotta be tough for that rejection. Well, we've finished the questions of the students.
Yay.
Last piece of advice to our frogs.
Maybe for me, it's really, you really have to find people who can give you proper critique. So this can be, us, your profs, or people who are older than you, who have been in the field for longer than you, or even your friends who can give you really good objective critique. And when you ask for critique, just really don't take it personally, because at the end of the day, you can choose to follow their critique or choose to, accept their critique or not. Yun yung pinakamalaking factor sa growth ko, is learning how to accept critique and apply it to my work. And trial and error din siya. So, try nyo lang na magtanong-tanong. Tapos, kung di nyo type yung critique nila, edi wag nyo gamitin. Pero kung if you feel like it will help your work, edi go apply it and then try to ask for more in the future if they're willing to give it to you.
Maybe I can go next. I think yung iniisip ko most often these days is, I play it off as a joke when I said it earlier, but the fact that talagang I'm not really the top of my field and that's okay. Like a lot of the time, I think what we are conditioned to try to become is, a Pokemon master, the very best that no one ever was, etc. Diba? Parang yun yung objective. But, for some of us, that's just not in the cards. Because to get to those positions na parang ikaw talaga yung top of mind for ganyang field, you need to really be focused, and being able to focus on something that completely is a privilege. Sometimes if you're not able to, earn money any other way or keep afloat any other way, you're gonna necessarily have to diversify, and that might get in the way of your world domination. But that's okay. I want it to be okay with people if they end up somewhere they didn't expect. Maybe that's like the most neutral way to say it. That you're not always going to, and your life's not always going to end up looking like the movies, and that's okay.
Yeah. Ang laking pressure, I think, for students now to be big right away. And I would like to accept the fact that maybe I will never be that big, but at least do something that I like to do and be enough for me to live comfortably. So don't put that much pressure in being the perfect pop star, I guess. And then it's gonna be scary because a lot of them are afraid of putting out their work. It really is. It's very normal to be scared and be insecure and think that you're not worth it. But you gotta put that aside and try it. Put on your kapal mukha face. And if you fail, okay lang. Nobody's gonna care anyway. After a month, they're gonna forget about that ugly post that you did. And just put out a new one. And then if they like it, then great.
Yeah.
Now that's
Agree.
Do we have anything that our students should do?
Follow the CFA page.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Should this be our announcement that FA has now an official Instagram?
Kunyari na lang, ito yung, hey Nikki, put a screen cap here somewhere. Lahat tayo.
Wherever it may be.
UP_CFA
Instagram account.
So yeah, if you do have work, post it so that we can promote it for you.
Yeah,
Yes.
That's it.
that's it. Okay, maybe we should just like say bye and then wave.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Fran. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.